at the back of your mind. You always know it is like natural. It's natural that we will meet in court. Yeah. And what thankfully, there didn't seem to be much surprises on what transpired yesterday on Friday, as against a week ago, where we saw how the law, how the justices, how the spoke. Gave definite, pronouncement on the matter. And of course, the Plateau State saga is still very much in the news, how the governor got free. But then we hear that the lawmakers are still exploring their legal options, even though their fate has been determined by the appellate court.
By the Supreme Court. Well, basically, let me bring these statistics out here.
Right.
Last week, we had 8. This week is 6. So
that's
let's
14.
do the mathematics together. Kemi, it's 14 states, and what I called it is harvest of victories for all the states. You had them
on Friday as against last week.
Last week, you had those governors there saying that kudos to the Supreme Court for this landmark of victory. But I keep saying, and I will keep saying it on the same program, when you win at the court, it's a victory for the judiciary. But none of them is coming out to criticize some of the judgment because the judgments were made in their favor. But one thing
why would you need to criticize the judgment?
Yeah, but
you've already surrendered to the jurisdiction of the court, and then you know that it is final. Either way,
it is the Supreme Court.
Why would you need to criticize the government, the judgment, if it doesn't go your way?
But definitely, Nigerians, if this judgment does not go in the way, look at what transpired in Nasarawa, especially in Lafia. You saw some PDP supporters coming out to contest that same judgment of the Supreme Court, saying that it did not go well with them protesting, burning tires on the streets. So this calls question that when this judgment is not in your favor, you see, the PDP hope were dashed, especially in Ogun, Nasarawa, and Gombe. What they expected is that, well, the Supreme Court will come out with surprises, but it's an affirmation of the victory of these governors.
In the case of Nasarawa State, where the tribunal had earlier declared victory for Obugadu, the PDP candidate, but then the Court of Appeal gave victory or annulled that judgment and then upheld the election at the polls of Governor Abdullahi, and then the Supreme Court now comes to
give the final verdict.
To seal it.
But let's look at this. Some of the landmark decisions made at this time says the judges, they were saying that nothing, especially in Ogun, that nothing substantial to sustain the appeal. They even used the word lack of merit in all these.
And that was a clean sweep. All the 3 levels in court, the court, held or gave similar pronouncements from the Tribunal, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, saying that it was basically, unmeritorious, according to the justice.
We had a guest last week, and we're saying, why is it that lawyers will continue pursuing cases even up to the Supreme Court when they know full well that they will not win? But it's something we need to also talk about, that, lawyers will definitely do their job. They want to try or test the courts to see whether the judgment will come in their favor. But victory for these 14 states at the moment. Some are still there. We're still expecting what will transpire in Rivers State.
The window
because the judgment there has been reserved.
The judgment has been reserved, but I know that was it Labour Party or several states had filed appeals even at the Supreme Court, in the Rivers matter, and of course, I think that of APC is still pending, even though Labour Party and I think another party have already known their fate. But, quickly on the point you made earlier on, I think there's still a lot more work that needs to be done in terms of how or harnessing our political maturity. As a people, because now the Supreme Court has spoken. Okay, so it's one thing, we've headed to court and the court has spoken. So let's move on. Let governance.
It's time for those governors to hit the ground and start running.
And let the opposition, because it's an office, come to think of it. It may not be an official office, but the position of an opposition party is very, very important. And just like civil society to keep government on their toes, there is also the role that opposition parties need to play. And now is a time for us to also see them adding value to the system. So they should caution their supporters because it could go either way, you know, going to hitting the streets in protest. Protest of what? You surrender to the court, and the court has had, there has to be one winner. Only one person can emerge. But I think it's a continuous process. We need to speak to ourselves. Right.
It is.
We'll see how it all gets, but we indeed hope for a better Nigeria, and of course for elections.
I want to see a Nigeria where after the elections, people will not go to court to challenge the decision of the people. Why will we end our elections in the court?
All right. Okay. Question.
It's a big question.
Big question. All right. But quickly in the news, we're still talking about the courts. Now the court intervention, but this time around away from the elections. Former